Hello and welcome to lesson 18 of the Learning Guitar series. I thought actually for this lesson to first add a level of musicality to this series. And what I mean by that is to discuss playing, literally playing, how we can apply in a musical way everything that we've done so far. And if you remember in lesson 1, I kind of defined the process starting from an alphabet, so A, B, C, and I defined that as, you're learning a scale or you're learning an arpeggio, okay? Or you're learning like a basic chord. And then I defined as words basically like what derives from all the exercises we've been doing. So words are those studies that you've done in terms of interval of thirds, triads, extended triads, groupings, when it came to arpeggios, different way of executing those arpeggios, etc. And then I kind of put like alphabet, words, and then phrases, okay? And so, the words are what helps you in building phrases. And I think it's a good time to start discussing phrasing when it comes to music. And the fact that we more often than not use language, spoken language, as synonymous in between music and spoken language is kind of a useful one for certain aspects, and for other aspects we can highlight what the differences are. We're going to discuss phrasing and two approaches that you can have to it. There are many, but let's start from these two and discuss them quickly, and then I'll show them to you on the guitar. The first one is the concept of repetition. Now, this is where music kind of differs from spoken language. What I mean by that is like when we're having a discussion, when you're talking to somebody, like I am right now in a way, I don't have to repeat the same exact phrase over and over, even with slightly differences. So let's say I want to tell you that the sun is shining. I'll just say the sun is shining. I'm not gonna go the sun is shining. Shining is the sun, and then I can move on to evolve in this conversation. The sun is shining. Why don't we go out for a walk? Why don't we buy an ice cream? These are all phrases that once you put them together, establish like a concept. In music, it doesn't necessarily work that way. Okay, that's one of the main differences. What I mean is, sometimes the repetition allows your audience, so who's listening to kind of understand where you're going with that concept. And in that sense, it seems to me that some people that study licks sometimes misses the point in terms of developing the licks and not leave it as it is. So in terms of guitar soloing, what you end up with is a lick, and then another lick, and then another lick, and then another lick. And if you want to compare that to spoken language, it's a bit like me saying, the sun is shining, oh, look at a cat, can I have a coffee? Three very different kinds that when you hear them one after the other, kind of makes no sense, okay? Instead, the development of that idea would be, the sun is shining, why don't we go for a walk, and maybe let's have an ice cream, okay? So in musical terms, let me demonstrate that to you. Let's take a very simple fragment of a phrase, I don't know, okay? 3 notes, very, very simple, okay? And if I start repeating this, and by repeating I don't mean, I mean developing that little idea. So what's the next line? I bet you know it. Something along the ba ba ba. The fact that you can predict it. So I'll do it again. There you go. So the fact that as a listener right now, you can kind of see where I'm going with it allows you to understand what I'm doing. In terms of speaking, it's a bit like you understanding what I'm saying. Okay, so in that sense, music is slightly different from language, because in language you don't have to repeat the same thing over and over for the concept to get across. While in music, it does help the audience to follow where you're going with it. Okay. And so the same idea you can apply it to a lick, and I'm going to use a very surreal example in this case. I'm going to take a piece of melody from a well-known Katy Perry song, okay, which is Fireworks. And the reason I'm taking that, I suppose I could take it like, maybe a lick from, Stevie Ray Vaughan, or it just then, I'm exaggerating this idea so you get the concept. So let's take that melody, for example, right? Something like that, right? Now, I'm going to treat that as a lick, okay? Like a fragment. And I'm just going to move it around by using repetition. So you see where I'm going with that. Not only you can hear that particular idea, whatever that melody, moving around, moving into other places. So... Now, you see, I hope you understand what I'm saying. In this case, I'm improvising it, and the idea behind improvising is still their kind of rules apply. This idea of using repetition as a way to give your audience an understanding of where you're going with that, but also from your perspective, you're building when you're having a conversation about a specific topic, all the conversation is about that topic is kind of evolving. You might have a question like, okay, but what about, if I don't have a starting point, okay? And that's when like the idea of studying other people's licks might come handy. Or even better, if you're playing songs, no matter if they are, rock songs or blues songs or jazz tunes, whatever they are, they all contain a melody. In a way, I just did it. Imagine like I'm playing a gig and, we are performing Fireworks by Katy Perry, but we're doing it in a way that there is a guitar solo. Well, the melody of the song is an excellent starting point to see where that can go, right? And this kind of idea applies not only if you're improvising a solo, but even if you're writing a solo. So if you're planning it, literally, a good starting point is always, what's the melody of the song? Because in that sense, you are actually giving great service to the song itself. What's the point of having this as a melody in the lyrics, and then suddenly there is a solo and you go... That just made no sense. I mean, with whatever the song was. So it's a bit like we're having a discussion and, the sun is shining, oh, look at the cat. Okay. So the concept of repetition, although not so common in the spoken language, can be very common, can be very useful to our musical language. So try and develop any idea, and you can use as fragment, some of the intervals you studied. It can be anything, really. It can be a rhythmic idea. Gonna go and see what happens, okay? Another concept that you can apply and actually combine with this, it really gives you a way to expand. So you can take an idea and that idea generates the next idea, that generates the next idea, that generates the next idea, and suddenly you have an entire solo. So an entire discussion, like a 1 minute solo, a 4 minute solo, whatever space you have. It's the concept of question and answer, or we can define it as tension resolution if you want. It's to me, I see them as a very similar concept. The best way to understand what I mean by question and answer and tension resolution is by looking at the blues, in particular the way lyrics are delivered when somebody's singing the blues. Now, I'm not a singer, so feel free to make fun of me for doing this, but and I'm making up words, okay? I woke up this morning and I feel like I want a coffee. I woke up this morning and I feel like having a coffee. I woke up this morning and I feel like having a coffee, but don't put sugar in it. Okay? It's the most ridiculous blues stanza you probably ever heard. But I guess, I hope it will explain the point of I woke up this morning, question, and I feel like having a coffee. Resolve that. Repetition. I woke up this morning and I feel like having a coffee. Tension. And now conclusion. I woke up this morning, I feel like having a coffee, but please don't put sugar in it. Dot. That's the end of it. Now, if I take that last phrase, please don't put sugar in it, because I like it bitter. Please don't put sugar in it, because I like it bitter. Please don't put sugar in it, because I like it bitter, and I like it better that way. Okay, now I have my second stanza. Now, a blues would not work that way in terms of taking the last phrase and make it the beginning of the new stanza. But when we're phrasing on a guitar, that actually can be a very useful concept. Because I can take, again, the concept of repetition first. So, now this last phrase I just played is the equivalent of that resolution. So, pa pa pa, pa pa pa, pa pa pa, pa da ba da da da. Now this last line, da 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 da, can be the beginning of my next idea, my next stanza. Now I can start and multiply and develop the second idea. Now, of course, in this case, I took the first idea and I ran it for, 1 or 2 bars. I could run that for much longer until I feel like resolving that idea. So I had a question and I'm answering that first idea. Once I answer that first idea, that answer becomes the question for the next one. Okay, right now I'm going to keep them short, so like I did before when I was improvising, there was a lot of question and answer happening there. So, I don't know. That's the answer. Tension. Answer. And now it becomes the next. Tension. Answer. And now tension. Answer. Tension. Answer. And developing this now. Now you see how these two concepts kind of allows you to start somewhere and you're leading yourself to the next thing, and then you're leading yourself to the next thing, and then you're leading yourself to the next thing. And now you have an entire one single fragment developed into a guitar solo. Okay, let's have a look. I'm gonna put the backing track on and play along with that to show you how that works. And as I said, I'm gonna upload that backing track as a separate video, as some sort of play along. And make sure you check on Patron, as I will upload the same backing track but in 12 different keys for you to download as an MP3. Okay, it's been a pleasure. Bye.
you.